Hi guys, I'm Jim and this is Jim's Fix-It Shop. We're going to finish putting this snapper together. So try to keep these things as short as I can. I'm going to move kind of fast. So if you miss anything, send me an email and I'll answer your questions. Right now we're going to put this differential on the side of the fender. Put the cork gasket on. I'm still not sure why they call these fenders, but I don't know. Now, I've got to take this nut off that I put on temporarily to help hold everything together. That goes on the outside. There's the nut. And we just got to start these screws and get them all in here. So, while I'm getting all these in here, I'll be right back. Okay, we got the fender hooked to the differential. Now it is all one piece. We can slip it on the side of the frame, I guess. Let me see if I can get you over there a little closer. Okay, now you can see the side of this is not the same color as the rest of the tractor. I had to repair this. Here's the one off the other tractor. This one wasn't nearly as worn as the one I'm using, but all the detents for the shifter on this one are really worn bad. A lot worse than this one. So I decided it'd be a lot easier to fix this than try to fix them. So what I did is I took this piece off, I took it to work, I welded these areas up. Now again, there's a lot of welding shops around that'll do this for you. Then I ground it flush and we'll put the parts back in. This is the tricky part. Getting the spring compressed. I'll grab a clamp and I'll show you how to put that on. Okay, I got you around the other side. You want to put a clamp on this lever that sticks up. Now you don't want to clamp on that or you're just going to bend it. All that's going to do is hold it once we get this spring compressed with these pliers. Which is easier said than done. We'll try that. Now this is the thrust washer that was on there. I think if you can see that, you can see these two holes or slots that are cut in there. The shifter, which is this, the end of this wore through this hardened thrust washer, and that's why it started eating away this softer material. So we're going to put a new thrust washer on there, and I made one a little bigger. I made one a little bit thicker than the originals. So hopefully that's going to hold up a little better for me. I'm also going to put on this thinner one. We're going to stick the shifter rod up through here. You got to take the knob off to get it through them slots. I don't know if I can get you around here so you can see this. I got to grab, okay, here's my pin and cotter key. I've got this crushed. It should be enough room to get that in there. There we go. Now we want to just put that cotter key in there. That's a little long. It's hard to get parts the exact size as you need them. So I'm just going to take a pair of side cutters and cut this a little shorter so it's not hanging out so far. End up catching my shirt and ripping it. We'll bend that cotter key over. Whoop, we're falling apart now. We have got this totally tore apart. Now we can take this clamp off. That works pretty good. Now this linkage bar needs to be hooked into there. I don't know if I can get you at a better angle or not. Hang on. I hope you can see all this. If you have a problem and you got any questions, just remember, give me a call. Get this off of here. Get that linkage hooked up. A little awkward getting that bolt in there. I know it's hard to see. I think once you get yours apart, you'll see how it goes back on there. Got a lock washer on it. You want to tighten it up good. Now let's get the fender on and the axle and the differential in. Let's see if I can reposition this camera for you. Alright, now after you get the hex tube and the axle slid through, there is another thrust washer you want to put on. It's hexed with some fingers sticking out that goes inside this hex drive tube and around the axle. When you get the other fender on here, we have to shim this so there's only about a 32nd of slop sideways. And that looks like it wants to be a little stubborn. Sliding on there. Now, I don't know if I can turn this. Let's put that knob on there before we lose that. Most of these tractors don't have the shifty knob. On the side of this case, there's a bracket right here. What this bracket does is it helps strengthen this tube because you got a hole drilled right through it for this bolt that holds it on the back of the case. This is where your bagger hangs, and it's also where you stand the tractor up. These things crack and break right here, so they put a strap on it to help reinforce it. Well, they only put one on. They don't put them on both sides. So seeing I had two tractors, I took both of them. I put one on each side of mine to help stiffen this pipe so it don't break on me. Now we're going to put this axle in here. You've got to kind of work it behind that brace that's on it. And there's 6 bolts that go in here. Now when you're bolting on your differential case to your fender, again, they have these things stamped in and threaded. If you strip any of them out, just put a nut and a bolt in there. Because from the factory, the top bolt and the bottom bolt aren't just the regular bolts. It's a bolt and a nut self-locking nut that goes on the top and the bottom. Why they did that, I'm not really sure. They could have just used another bolt and made them all the same. I guess that's just to confuse us. All right, I'm going to put these bolts in. I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to tighten these bolts up. Now, a little helpful hint when you're putting them in, get all 6 of them started before you tighten any of them up. Because there's a lot of things you got to wiggle around and get aligned before you can get all the bolts in. Well, that's turning. Now, let's get the other fender. It's still in the vise. I'll show you what I'm doing on that. Okay, we're just finishing this up. Now the bushing on this axle, or this side of the axle, is a little bit different than the other one. Take off my puller. Now you can see I've got an extra coupling. It's bigger than the one I was using. I think this is 1.5 inches and this is probably 2 inch. Because the bearing on this side has a grease fitting on the back of it. So when you tip your tractor up, this grease fitting is going to be aiming right at you. So make sure you position it so that's where it's pointing so you can grease this. You're going to want to grease this quite often. And to get this out without unscrewing that grease fitting, I didn't want to fool with that. I just got a bigger coupling that would fit over both of them. If you just want to use one coupling, then you can just unscrew that grease fitting with a little wrench and it's no big deal. But there it is. The little grease fitting is pointed down and away from this hole. This hole, there's a rod that goes across from one side to the other. You don't want to have it aiming at that, or you won't be able to get on it. Okay, let's go back over there and put some more parts on that tractor. Alright, we're back over here. Wouldn't you know it, I got ahead of myself. I got to take this thrust washing off. Just kind of tap around it. On this drive tube, there's little detents they have. It looks like they hit it with a punch. That's to grab onto this and help hold it. We have to slide the chain case on before I can put that on there. Now, I'm going to have to grab me another part. Okay, we had to do a little wiggling to get that silly thing in there. And, well, now I got to wiggle it off. Just a second. I tell you, if you want to see my gag reel, watch the video because I don't do editing. I forgot to put the boot on. Now you're going to notice on all these parts of this tractor where the boots go on, there's little fingers they got sticking out to help grip the clamp. So when you put the boot on there, make sure the clamp is on the other side of these little fingers. Otherwise, when you shift this thing and you're stretching this boot, it could pull that clamp right off. And I suppose I'm talking about clamps, I might as well put them on too, then I won't have to take them apart to get them on here. Now we'll see if we can wiggle this back on. I hope I'm not too much in your way. Okay, that's on. Now there's a little linkage that has to go from here to this rod. And it's going to be hard to see with that boot in my way now. But it's the same type of bolt that's up here on this one. Let's see if I can get that on. Okay, we got that on there. Now I'm hoping I'm not going too fast. I just don't want to make this thing so long that it gets really dragged out. We're going to put this thrust washer back on here. Let's tap it on a little bit. Alright, we're just finishing up putting this second boot on. Got the thrust washer on. Now this next part is just, it's a guessing game. You got to put the fender on. We can slide that on there. And I've got to kind of spin this into position because I have to go behind this bracket that I've got. Okay, now it's in place. Now I've got a lot of area in here that I have to make up with shims. About 1/4 of an inch. So once we get that shimmed in, this shifts quite nice now. I just have to play with this, get these shimmed out so I only have a 30-second of side play. And put these 6 bolts in, and the case is pretty much put together. Come back in next one, I'll show you how I did it and let you know how long it took. You're probably going to have to take this case off, I don't know, 4 or 5 times to get it shimmed out right. So until next time, if you need anything, you need any help, send me an email. Don't forget to subscribe, because we're going to have a few more parts on this. So if you need anything, drop me an email at jimsfixitshop@gmail.com and let me know what you think. Until next time, work safe and have fun.